Welcome to the Drummer Mindset Podcast with your host, me, Joel Pereira. Today, I'm excited to sit down with Terrence Houston, a.k.a. the Groove Guardian. But first, I also wanted to share with you an idea and something I've been discussing with other drummers. 2 weeks ago now, I listened to this podcast from Andrew Huberman, and he was discussing growth mindset as a way to enhance performance, right? So growth mindset is an interesting topic. I think a lot of folks, a lot of parents know, and a lot of people who kind of keep up with the research on that stuff know that is kind of the best practices right now and recommendations on how we talk to our kids and raise our kids. And that's primarily how I've known it. Carol Dweck was one of the primary researchers on this. Well, what he also brought up in this podcast was that it's not only beneficial in the way that we talk and raise kids, but also in the way that we talk to ourselves and to other people. So essentially the idea is that with a growth mindset, you focus on kind of the doing, the verb. You know, if you're going to give a compliment and talk about how hard someone works or how they keep trying, the persistence, those verbs, as opposed to labels of saying, oh, you're so smart. And what the studies show is that when you provide those labels, you actually undercut future performance for ourselves, for our kids, and other people that we know. It's a really interesting research that's been done, and it's a great way that Huberman Lab kind of brings it all together. But obviously, I've been thinking about it in the way, that we do drumming. And so one of the other pieces, too, was the importance of stress. And so many times we think about stress as kind of the killer, and that cortisol is something that we want to keep low, But the fact is cortisol has evolved in us to keep us alert, to keep us moving, to keep us motivated. And so, you don't want to have high cortisol levels when you're trying to go to sleep. That's to be avoided. But otherwise, during the day, you want a nice, healthy, consistent dose of it. And also that stress can help your performance. It makes sense, right? But it's also in the way that we talk about stress that can be helpful. So simply knowing that stress is helpful can be helpful for you, as opposed to stress is something to avoid. And so I think that's a really key piece in how, we practice. And the other thing that, the other pearl that he brought up as well in the podcast was that when we get so frustrated when we're trying to learn something, like we're trying to learn a new lick or a new rhythm or whatever it is, and we get frustrated with it, it's usually that frustration that is a sure sign that you're learning something new, that you are creating neuroplasticity. So if you can just recognize that for what it is and maybe avoid punching a hole in the wall or throwing a drumstick through the wall like I have done when I was a kid, then it can actually, it can be a good thing. So anyway, something to chew on. Let me know what you think. Go check out his podcast for sure. He gives a lot of solid basic recommendations that everyone should, have access to. But anyway, back to Terrence Houston, aka the Groove Guardian. He was playing last week with George Porter Jr. at Salvage Station. I got to catch him there, and then we pulled away and got to go sit down and have a conversation about drums and drumming and how he keeps it all together with touring and gigging. Has 250 gigs a year. In 3 different bands between George Porter Jr. He's got his own band called Slugger. They just released a single, which is excellent. And then also Asheville favorites, Toubab Krewe. They'll be back here. Toubab Krewe will be here on Saturday, New Belgium Brewing on the lawn at 6:30. Definitely worth checking it out. Terrence has a lot of varied influences, from jazz to funk to metal to African music. He does it all, and his solos are definitely something to behold. Stay tuned, and here's my talk with Terrence Houston. Terrence, thanks so much for coming in here, Short notice.
Bro, thanks for having me, man. Sure.
You got to be busy with the 3 bands.
I mean, yeah, it's, being a full-time musician, you got to stay busy. Just working with one artist or one band, it's not gonna be enough to support a family.
I gotcha.
Unless you playing with a big-time artist or a band that makes you a lot of money.
You're also hitting some local gigs too. In New
Orleans.
I
play every Monday at the Maple Leaf, so I play anywhere from about 200 to 250 gigs a year.
Gotcha. Working. Yeah.
Yeah, because it always kind of slow down during the summertime a little bit. We'll do a little touring, but it slows down after Jazz Fest. And it slows down during the holidays too. So the winter months, it's kind of hard to tour when it's like snowing everywhere. So mostly December through February, it be kind of chill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So you get to what is it like for you? Like after being on the road and then you're home for a couple months?
I mean, I treat home like it's vacation, man.
Yeah.
I go and, chill with the baby and, spend my time and try to, use it valuably and cherish the time that I do have at home.
Yeah.
Because I don't get a chance to spend much time at home.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, so you grew up in a gospel family.
Oh yeah, and my family is from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I'm actually from Baton Rouge. I'm not from New Orleans. But yeah, my family is like my first inspiration. My uncle was the drummer, he was the oldest out of all. My you can say my uncles and aunts. He was the oldest. My uncle, after that, under him, he played the keys. So, and then my uncle after that, he was like the lead singer. And then my mom and my aunts, they sang background.
Gotcha. Yeah. And was this mostly at church or did y'all tour?
At church. Yeah. They did, like local gospel fests and, musicals and, stuff around the South Coast region.
Gotcha.
The United States.
Gotcha.
Yeah, from Texas to Florida.
And you pretty much, if I understand correctly, did you pretty much learn the drums through your uncle?
Yeah.
And then videotapes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What kind of videotapes did you catch?
Like Dennis Chambers, In the Pocket, Dave Weckl, Jeff Porcaro, like those VHS tapes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. And then the gospel. I mean, I've heard that sheds for gospel can be long and difficult. Is that right?
I mean, it depends on who you're working out with, But for me, when I go to shed, I go to learn. I don't really just go to chop out and try to chop heads. You know what I'm saying? I'll stop in the middle of the shed and be like, say, bro, show me that. So that's what I use the shed for.
Gotcha. And then, so you started real young, like 3. And then I think what I understood at one of your talks was that you didn't really, did you get any formal training until college?
Oh, no. I started playing the snare drum in the 6th grade. So, I played the snare drum in marching band all through high school.
Got it.
And I did 1 year at Southern University. Yeah.
And then did I understand correctly too? Like you had a teacher that pretty much was like, "Look, you're pro now."
Yeah, Mr. Herman Jackson. He actually hit me on Instagram. He messaged me the other day. I told him, "Thanks for everything, man." I had to thank him once again. But
that's so rare to find a teacher like that.
Yeah.
And also, it sounds like you didn't get any pushback from your mom either on what you're trying to do.
Never. My mom was always like, "Go get it."
Yeah.
She's like, "Chase your dreams."
Because was she a musician too, or an artist?
Yeah, she just sang. Yeah, she ain't playing the instruments.
Got it. So, what was it like playing snare? I mean, so you were marching, and then on weekends you were doing church.
Yep. Yeah. So marching band. Pretty much you would say 6 days a week because we had, weekend engagements also. It wasn't just Monday through Friday. And then, you know, parade season came around. But in between parade season, well, after parade season, it was festival season, like with the concert band and the orchestra and the symphony and all that. And going to, you know, state band, applying for all of that, you know.
It's gotta be. I mean, that's gotta be competitive.
Yeah. So yeah, it was just year round, just snare drum, snare drum solos.
Yeah, because I mean, like, I guess, you know, I mean, I'm not from Louisiana. I don't know a lot about Baton Rouge, but from what I understand, I mean, all the festivals, all the parades and stuff are still huge throughout Baton Rouge, just like they are in New Orleans, right?
Yeah. Well, Southern University is like the top HBCU marching band. Like you would say, like there is. So like people go to the game just to see the band. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So to you know, to march in Southern band is like a lot of people's dream. You know what I'm saying? So like for me, it was either go to Southern, or try to go to Berkeley. My parents wasn't sending me to school out of state, so
Right.
So, with the Southern.
Yeah. Well, something else that just strikes me too, like when I look at the bands you're in, you know, with George Porter Jr. that you've been doing since 2009. Is that right?
December of 2009.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then a couple years after that, you start with Toubab Krewe.
Yep.
And then what about your outfit? What about Slugger? When did that start?
We started getting together. Me and Noah Young, his bass player, he moved to New Orleans. I don't know when he moved to New Orleans, I say, but I started checking him out, I think around about 2015. And I hit him up around about 2016. I was like, say, bro, let's get together and share it a little bit. And he say he came through a couple times. We, you know, played. Then he invited his boy Max, because he hadn't just moved down where they both was from. And so, you know, got it jamming, wrote a couple tunes, and booked a couple gigs. And by 2017, I guess we can say we was a band. Started recording music at the end of 2017. Put it out in 2018.
With the bands you play, like each one, like you can't peg, you know? Like you could say, you know, maybe you and George, y'all play like funk, but also there's like a healthy dose of blues, there's a healthy dose of jazz in there. With Slugger, it's the same way. And then sometimes like I was catching just some like psychedelic stuff too. And then with Toubab Krewe, like that's totally different thing, right? Like it's all a lot of it's West African instruments and that kind of focus, but still with like, you know, a groove that we know, you know. But yeah.
And that's what, to me, makes it all fun, because, you know, it's never the same thing. It doesn't get boring, and, you know, it's always a challenge. You know what I'm saying? You're always learning something new.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Even, you know, with George, even though we play a lot of, you know, old meter tunes and old running partner tunes, but we just released a record right before COVID that, you know what I'm saying, we playing those tunes. We just came out of the studio recording, like we did like all the background music for his up and coming documentary. We did a new Running Partners record, and we did like all these old New Orleans R&B tunes. I think it's gonna be called George Plays in New Orleans or something like that.
Okay.
But it was a lot of work that we just did.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah, so, you know, and then Toubab is about to get back in and record some more music. Slugger, we about to record at the end of August some more music to finish up the full length record that we about to release. We just released the single last month featuring Jelly Angelica Joseph. She
I heard that.
Yeah.
Oh, I had not heard her before.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's amazing. There's a new single that just came out,
new
right?
single, yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's always, you know, it's fun, you know, doing new stuff, keeping it fresh.
Yeah.
You know, so
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Was your musical taste always so varied growing up?
Oh yeah, I used to fucking watch MTV. I used to watch all the rock drummers, all the rock bands on MTV in the early '90s and shit. Like,
Yeah.
that was my shit back in the day. Yeah.
I remember that. 90s, yeah. So like, who you want to list any bands that come to mind, or
like
drummers
from back then? Probably like Queens of the Stone Age.
Oh yeah.
Again, of course, like all the heavy metal bands, probably like Metallica.
Sure.
Who else I would say? But that got me into like playing like classic rock and shit like that with cover bands. Like that's how I started out on Bourbon Street. I started out with a classic rock band on Bourbon Street.
Got it.
You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like the typical gig for me. You would think that I would be playing. So when people came in and saw me on the gig, they was like, "Oh shit, look at the black kid playing all these old classic rock tunes and shit." So it was cool.
Yeah. So gospel early, but then marching and stuff like that. But were you listening to metal like as early as like middle school?
Yeah, middle school, elementary school.
You still listen to a lot of it?
Yeah. Like I would say probably around 2008. Like I seen Thomas Pridgen with Mars Volta, and that shit like changed my plan. That shit changed my life. Yeah.
Same. But it's always so interesting to me because like they started with John Theodore, who now plays with Queens, and I love that album. And then I think was Pridgen before Dave Elitch.
He was
before.
He came after John.
Yeah, and Pridgen's playing. I don't know. Like my brain doesn't chunk in that way. I'm like, I have to like break down, slow it down, figure out like how he's getting those chops.
He's unique, bro. He's a left-handed cat that plays a right-handed kid. And he doesn't play open like most left-handed cats. So like he's a genius.
Really. Yeah. He's locked in. He's got the brain for rhythm and drums for sure.
But like around that time, like, it's when I started looking at, performing a little bit different, you know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, I got to go a little bit harder. I can't, be playing all timid and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because people probably already say I was playing too loud, but after that, I started playing even louder. But,
it's so funny, man.
I started working a lot more too, though.
I got a drum teacher. He's the 80-20 drummer. I don't know if you ever look at YouTube or anything, but he's a guy that went to music school. He's got Berkeley chops, but he studies all these folks. And I was taking one of his classes, and he's like, "Do you ever just bang the drum like as hard as you can? Just get it out. Just do that." I was like, "Yeah, but now we live next to the neighbors, trying to be a good neighbor and all that kind of stuff." And he's like, "Man, I don't think it's probably as big of a deal as you think it is to just hit it." Yeah. And he's like, "I'm seeing this more and more, like people now are just not hitting very hard. And like they're losing their whole dynamic range with that."
Yeah. Cause, I was playing like hard like that for so long, but, after I started playing like these little trio gigs and shit though. Like I had to play soft and shit. So lately I've been working on touch. You know what I'm saying? And touching and execution, because it's a lot harder to play soft than it is to play hard. To me, you know what I'm saying? Some people it might be the other way around, but for me, fucking soft chops, it's hard.
Yeah. I guess you own the chop if you can do it both soft and hard, and fast and slow, right? Yeah, for sure.
Still play with the same intensity without speeding up or slowing down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's the trick. So before that, so you got formal training by the time at least you were 6th grade, but otherwise the family was like pretty much musicians all the time. So you were just kind of surrounded by, at least by your uncles and stuff.
I'm going around like, plus my uncle that played the keys, he played in different bands at different churches. Okay. I would go with him, you know what I'm saying, and check out all the other drummers that was around town. It'll be like if you ever been to like a musical at a gospel event, you got all the musicians standing in the corner by the bandstand. So it's like, You know, it might be like 15 musicians just, you know, checking out the band or waiting to play next. Something like that, you know what I'm saying?
Any tap outs?
Yeah. So
is that kind of thing
it
happen?
it was learning experience. Everybody learned from each other. And it was good fellowship. It was cool.
Oh, nice.
You know what I'm saying?
Like supportive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Supportive.
Not too competitive.
It wasn't no competition. Everybody knew who the best was, but you know.
Got it. I imagine marching had to be a pretty steep competition, though.
Well, marching was like, that was more competitive. You know what I'm saying? It was like, you know.
Gotcha.
It had to be that way because, you know, you got a challenge to become number one section leader. So,
right.
You know.
Yeah. Tell me about Groove Guardian.
All right, so George would always introduce me as the guardian of the groove. You know what I'm saying? So, but like that's like WWOZ slogan and all that. So I was like, I had to shorten it up. Just called it, you know, Groove Guardian.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, that's how that came about.
Yeah. I probably read too much into things, but as I was listening to your records and the stuff that you've been on with George, and then your own stuff. Like and then with Toubab, like so much of it, there's so much historical context in all of it.
Oh yeah.
And so I was like, you know what? You kind of are like, you're kind of keeping a lot of this stuff alive.
Yeah.
I mean, in a lot of ways, like there's no like funk and blues and all that. Like it's alive and well in a lot of ways. But I think too, like, and you know, fortunately enough, just having the internet and everyone at least knows what Sissy Strut is, right? Like everyone kind of knows most of the meters. I would think, like if you're interested in funk at all, like you'll probably, or you need to do the dive back into it. But it's truly like, you know, I see you at the jazz. What was it? The Jazz Music Museum. I guess that's in New Orleans. You're playing more like. It's kind of a jazz trio, but y'all get out there too. Like it's not just that either. But it's clear you've got jazz chops.
Oh yeah.
And then just like I said, I listed earlier, just like from the psychedelic to the funk to the blues, jazz, like, and then Toubab Krewe doing some kind of fusion West African feel.
Yeah. So with Toubab Krewe, we play like traditional African tunes. You know, we play original tunes, but you know we play a lot of traditional African tunes. So like I had to learn like a lot of those, you know, traditional rhythms and stuff like that.
Was that difficult?
Traditional clave. Nah, it was fun. Yeah. And you know, not being from New Orleans, I had to learn like the second line style of drumming. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, Paul Barberin, like stuff like that. But Earl Palmer. But once you get into the New Orleans funk, you know you're gonna listen to a lot of Zigaboo. Yeah. But I would say,
get to play with him?
I ain't never get a chance to play with Zig, but hung out with Zig quite a few times. Yeah. And you know, listen to him play, you know, on the you know, Foundation of Funk shows, his band. You know what I'm saying? But checking out Zig, you know. With the meters, you're gonna get a lot of that. You had to learn a lot of that style of playing. But like you would say, like Smokey Johnson, his style of playing, that was like, you know, because he played with Fats Domino. You know what I'm saying? So once you learn all of the traditional, not you would say traditional, but all the New Orleans R&B, we say traditional New Orleans R&B now because, you know what I'm saying, that's what it is now because all of those songs, public domain, right? You know, some New Orleans artists cover them, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, you call them traditional New Orleans R&B tunes now. So all the stuff, you know, Allen Toussaint wrote, all that type of, you know, New Orleans R&B. So, you know, I incorporate all that into like the stuff that we try to write today. You know what I'm saying? So like, and then you know you got a lot of Russell Batiste in there. You know what I'm saying? All the New Orleans drummers. You know what I'm saying? Hurlin Riley. You know, you got all those influences within the music that you know you had to learn. you know, to get the gig.
Yeah. Well, tell me, there was one other thing that I caught a little bit of on your presentation at the museum there, and it was you were talking about was it the Big Four, the rhythm?
Mm-mm.
And maybe I missed it, but can you talk a little bit about that right now?
I guess, you know what I'm saying, there's a lot of it's used in like it was how would I explain it? It would say like I guess it originated from New Orleans jazz.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I guess it would be like in 2/4,
Mm-hmm.
but you counted 2/4, you counted to 4. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you know what I'm saying? It'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. You know what I'm saying? So like you just accent the 4.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But if you were swinging with that 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? That's where your accent would be.
Kind of like cut time.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I always think, but I guess cut time it could be anywhere, like on the 3, on the 4. I guess that's usually where it would end up.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. And then something else, like it sounds like you, from supportive church upbringing as far as gospel playing was concerned, family was supportive, uncles taught you, mom was really supportive, grandmother was really supportive. When was at any point you perceived there was any like resistance or blocks you had? Maybe it was like with certain feels or chops or whatever, like anything that sticks out in your mind. Maybe it was young or even now.
Nah, it was just, you know, a lot of musicians back in the G, you know, they used to try to stress, you know what I'm saying, staying in the pocket, stay in the pocket. You know what I'm saying? Because I used to play with like quartet bands and all that back in the G. But now I look on Instagram, YouTube, and all that. You got, you know, young cats chopping out on quartet songs, you know, with a quartet band. I'm like, come on, bro.
Insta choppers,
you
Insta
know what I'm
drummers.
saying? Like, this the stuff I got crucified for back in the G, and now it's cool to do. I was like, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. Like, I could have probably been famous.
You're still there, man. You're still there. You do much of the socials at all?
Say what?
Do you do much on like social media and stuff?
Oh yeah, Groove Guardian, on at Groove Guardian on Instagram. I have a website, grooveguardian.com.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll be posting you know, all my like content and all my dates, and I have some t-shirts for sale.
Okay.
Some Groove Guardian t-shirts. That's about it. Groove Guardian on Twitter. Terrence Groove Guardian Houston on Facebook.
Okay.
So yeah.
Wanted to ask you a little bit about Slugger too. Like, are y'all touring at all, or is that?
Nah, we working on that. We got a couple gigs coming up. We playing the Jazz Museum this month on the 11th. Well, you can say August 11th. We landed Po' Boy Fest this year, so happy to be doing that. We got a couple other things we have in between the 11th and Po' Boy Fest that we're doing, but I can't think of it right now. I ain't looking at the calendar, but
yeah.
But we're gonna be looking to tour with the band sometime early next year.
Okay.
Once we put out the record.
Okay. What's the studio experience like for you? And is it any different between those 3 bands that you're working with right now?
Oh, definitely. Most of the time when I record with Slugger, we record, you know what I'm saying, we go in knowing the tunes, you know, we beat and rehearse, perform the tunes to try to see how they go over, you know what I'm saying, see if it's worth even recording, you know what I'm saying, versus recording with George. If George might have just an idea, you know what I'm saying, he'll send just the bass track. And with him, you know what I'm saying, talking on the track, letting me know what to do, where to go, you know what I'm saying, with the groove and stuff like that. So like, he kind of like builds his tracks like that, you know what I'm saying. And then with Toubab, we kind of like try to get jammy with it because you know it's kind of trance. It's kind of, you know,
Yeah.
we get jamming with it, but we'll go in and basically jam. You know what I'm saying? After putting the arrangement together, we'll jam on that arrangement, and then go back. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the night, and have fun in the studio. You know, copying, pasting, mixing stuff down.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
So will you like kind of layer over different perperformances all into one?
Adding effects.
Yeah.
Doing all kind of crazy shit.
Yeah.
So you know, it's always great, and everybody get a chance to, you know, to play with the board. You know.
Okay.
So,
and does someone like have a studio that y'all go to for that? Because that sounds like a lot of time.
We'll rent a spot out for like a week. Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yep, and you know, we'll do we would say like 12-hour days.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like the first half of the day we record, then we eat dinner, and then the second half of the day, you know what I'm saying, we in out either working with an engineer, mixing it down and stuff, doing the shit like that, or we doing it ourselves.
Yeah. How do you keep up with the pace?
Well, it's Google Calendar, bro. Just try to, as soon as I book it, I put it on the calendar so I can make sure it's, you know, it's set in stone. You know what I'm saying? Even though George is first priority, but after that, it's kind of like first come, first serve.
Gotcha.
You know, but you know, with the Toubab tours, you know, that's always blocked out on the calendar. So like George probably won't book any tours or any, you know, gigs unless it was something, you know, paying real well, and then, you know, he just got somebody for the fill in.
Gotcha.
To do like a one-off or something, but yeah, it kind of works out between George's booking agent and Toubab's booking agent. They kind of stay on top of things so while, like, you know, nothing overlaps.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I noticed too. Like when we started chatting just about getting on the podcast, like you were like on it with like, this is what I got going. You know, if we can work it out somewhere in between here, we can make it work. But it was like, yeah, everything was blocked out for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. You gotta get ready for the gig tonight, so I gotta give me some dinner.
Yeah. Where are you gonna go?
I don't even know. I'm gonna go to the hotel and freshen up first.
All right, man.
Had a long ride.
Yeah.
Long ride in.
I bet. All right. Well, I'm gonna not take up any more of your time, but I really do appreciate you making the time, man. It's a tight schedule, and that's
man,
no
I
small
appreciate
feat.
you for having me, man. Yeah. Always fun to talk drums and stuff like that.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Cool. Well, I look forward to the show tonight.
For sure, man. Come through and have fun, man. Have a drink with me.
Will do.
Will
do. All right, man. So that was Terrence Houston, Groove Guardian. So glad to be able to talk with him. You know, he really strikes me as someone that pays homage to his roots. You know, just paying tribute to his family and then also to the roots of New Orleans music, talking about Paul Barberin to Earl Palmer and Zigaboo, pretty much covering a huge span of time there where a lot of that New Orleans funk and sound developed. So it was really cool to see him kind of coming up and still guarding that groove, I guess. If you are listening to this when I drop it, if today is August 4th, you can catch him tomorrow, August 5th, with Toubab Krewe, 6:45 p.m. On the lawn at New Belgium. Definitely worth checking out. I know I'm going to be there. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed the show, and I'll see you on the next one.